Today's the day, guys. I feel it. I know it's gonna happen. I'm not in a rush right now to get this car done anymore. I feel like I really was the last, I don't know, 2 days, just trying to like bang it out, get everything done as quickly as possible, and things weren't going right. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This morning we picked up the water pump gasket for this water pump. So it's a 2003 Mitsubishi Outlander water pump gasket and water pump that we are running on this car. I don't know why it's so specific, and it's kind of weird that it's an Outlander setup that you have to run, but it is what it is. That's what we picked up, and that is what is going to work on this car. First things first, let's throw on the water pump, make sure we don't have any leaks, and then we can throw on the timing belt, throw on all the stuff down here, timing cover, alternator belt, the power steering belt, all the tensioners, all that good stuff. Everything right there has got to go back on the car. Okay, so we just got the water pump on. I'm gonna throw in some water into the car right now, not any antifreeze, just to make sure we don't have any leaks. Usually how I do it is I'll start it up originally with just distilled water in there, and then after we confirm there's no leaks, I'll drain out all the water and put in like 50-50 mix of antifreeze and distilled water. So far so good. We're not seeing any leaks whatsoever. There's a little bit of water on the ground from yesterday. We are good to go. Look at that. From here, we just have to fill the car all the way back together to the state it was in yesterday. So the timing belt is going to be the most difficult part, I guess, just because there's that one pulley that I think you're supposed to put on last. That's how I did it, at least when I timed the car. And to get that pulley off, we'd have to pull like the AC compressor and the power steering. And I don't want to do that, so it's going to be a little bit difficult. Let's give it a shot, see what happens. Oh my gosh, I spoke too soon, guys. The water pump is still leaking. See that little bit of water right there? Yeah, it's coming from the water pump. Let's pull it back off, figure out what the hell is going on. Okay, just got the water pump off. The gasket was on there fine. Everything was tightened down. Everything was fine, and it was still leaking just a little bit. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dry everything up, get it completely dry, throw a tiny bit of sealant on either side of this water pump gasket, because if I throw it back together just how it was, it's probably gonna leak again, and I don't want to do this 48 times in a row. So I'm gonna solve this once. I know it's not proper in this case. I don't really care. I just want this thing to not leak. Okay, so I just got the water pump back on. We do have to wait for that sealant to dry for a little bit. I don't know how long they want you to wait. I'm sure it's supposed to be like 24 hours or something. Allow 24 hours to fully cure before fitting with fluids or returning to service. I'm not gonna wait that long. I guess I'll probably wait an hour and then throw some fluids in it. I'm not gonna wait 24 hours. If it still leaks, then I will. But if I throw fluid in right now after waiting for an hour and it doesn't leak, we're gonna be good to go. So it's been about an hour. Let's dump in some water and see if we have any leaks whatsoever. I know that sealant isn't cured all the way. It's not dry probably at all, but let's give it a shot. If it leaks, oh well, we can just redo it and wait a full 24 hours. I don't see any leaks right now, but I'm gonna let it sit for like 30 minutes. Make sure we don't have any leaks whatsoever, and then we can throw the timing belt back on. All right, fam, it's been about 45 minutes, and there's not any leaks whatsoever coming from the water pump, so we're good to go. And as you can see, we have the timing belt on with the tensioner. I could probably pull that off. Probably shouldn't leave that on there. Yeah, we're good to go. I already got the timing belt on. I just gotta tighten down the tensioner, release this pin right here, and throw this thing back together. Within about 45 minutes to an hour, this thing will be running. Guaranteed. In all honesty, I don't know why we couldn't just start it up right now just to make sure everything's good to go, especially like the timing, since we were just messing with that and it's a little bit wonky to do while the motor's in the car. I don't have the accessory belt on, so we can only just fire it up for a split second, make sure it runs, and then we're gonna have to throw like on the water pump pulley, all the pulleys and whatnot. You don't want to run it that long with no water going through the system. So I don't know why we couldn't start it up right now. Everything else should be good to go. Throw on the intercooler piping probably. It is speed density, so it'd run without it, just not all that good. We don't need to put on the intake because there's no MAF. Yeah, intercooler piping, intercooler, let's fire it up. I'm sick of waiting around. Okay, so right now the car is pretty gettily put together. Nothing's really tight with the intercooler piping. The battery's just sitting in there. I did unplug the crank sensor just to make sure it doesn't actually start. I just want to turn it over right now, make sure we don't hear anything weird going on, and also make sure we don't have any fuel leaks. So let's crank it over, see what happens. She sounds pretty damn healthy. All right, I'm not seeing any fuel leaks. I'm gonna make sure the coolant level is good, make sure oil level is good, and go ahead, fire it up for the very first time. We've been working at this exact moment for like 3 or 4 days now, and we still haven't got it, so this better work. I just checked all the levels, we're all good to go. I'm gonna try to fire this thing up for the very first time. All we gotta do, plug in the crank sensor and see what happens. If it starts for 2 seconds, I'm good. I'll turn it off, button everything back up, get the timing cover back on. Really what I'm trying to do right now is make sure it's timed right. If it's not timed right, it's going to sound like a huge misfire or not run at all. Don't be alarmed if this thing is super noisy when it first starts up. Remember how we bled out all the oil out of the lifters? So they're completely loose right now. They're going to be clinking for, I don't know, 10 seconds maybe. So don't bash me in the comments for a rod knock when it's just some lifter tap. We did it, guys. First start is officially done. The reason why I thought I heard a leak. The reason it's just like coolant burbling through. I thought I was leaking. The reason why I didn't start the first time around is because I didn't have any ground wires on. I added 2 ground wires and it fired right up. So that shows the importance of ground wires. You gotta have grounds for your car to run. I'm gonna spend the next hour and a half going through buttoning everything up. I probably should redo some ground wires. They're pretty ghetto right now, but I might just do that later. I just want to go drive this car, honestly. All right, the car is 99% complete. There's a few little things that are not on the car that we're gonna be powder coating or changing, or just stuff that we don't necessarily need on the car right now. From here, we're gonna move on to a bunch of fluid stuff. We gotta get the car up to operating temperature, make sure the oil level's good. We have to do the power steering. It's completely drained right now, so we're gonna throw power steering in it right now. Gotta get that bled, make sure the transmission and the transfer case are both at good levels. Last thing to do is drain all the water out of the radiator, put the antifreeze in, and then we can go on our very first drive. This thing is not running too well. I don't know if it's something to do with the evap EGR stuff that we deleted and we have to kind of retune for that, or if there's something else going on. We don't have any check engine lights though. That's a good thing. I'm gonna go check all the grounds again. I have a feeling it's something to do with the ground, just because every time I hit the gas, all the lights go black, and then I let off the gas and they come back on. So I think one of the grounds must be loose still. Something is clearly not right with this car. It's just sitting there popping at idle, and my AFRs are all the way lean. We didn't change anything up with the setup. I know you don't have to tune for an EGR delete or the evap delete. You don't necessarily need to retune for it if you don't care about the check engine light. So I know that's not the problem. We didn't change the fuel injectors. We didn't change the fuel pump. We didn't change really anything with the setup. We just made it a lot cleaner. I checked the timing. Timing is 100% spot on. Just went around and checked a bunch of things. I checked timing again. I checked compression. I checked to make sure that the cam trigger was on properly. All that was good. So I got the popping at idle to go away. What it ended up being is the TPS, the throttle position sensor. I tried to put it back on in the same exact position. I removed it when we Cerakoted the throttle body, but I just checked it. So with the ignition on, the car not running, the green wire coming out of the TPS is supposed to be around 0.7 volts, and it was right around like 1 volt. So I adjusted it, got it down to around, it was like 0.68 volts is what I got it to. And the popping at idle is gone. It seems to be running a million times better, but the AFR gauge is still showing that it's running super lean idle, which is kind of weird. Let's check over all the fluids, get the car down on the ground, and go for a drive, see what happens, see how it runs. Maybe it's just it needs a retune for idle. I don't know. I don't know if with EGR and evap delete you have to remap for the idle. You may have to, not exactly sure. We have to check all the fluids when the car is completely level. So let's jack up the back of the car, get it on jack stands, drain all the excess gear oil out of the transfer case, the transmission, check the engine oil, check the coolant, and we can go on our very first drive. Before I pull the fill plugs out and let it drain out, let's throw the car in gear and let all the wheels spin for 2 or 3 minutes. That'll kind of simulate us driving around the block like Jack's transmission recommends before we pull that fill plug out. As you guys can hear, there's still clearly something fucked up with the car. It's just popping like crazy when I put it in gear and try to like simulate driving. Popping like crazy, AFRs are full lean, so there's gotta be something that we're missing. I don't know what it is. I haven't been able to figure it out. Anything to do with the evap and EGR that we deleted. You don't have to retune for that, only just to delete the codes. It's not gonna change like your AFRs and make the car run super lean, from what I understand. We did mess around with the injectors quite a bit, so I'll look all that over. But for now, let's just get the fluids out of the way so we don't have to worry about that and maybe potentially forget about that later on. So I've been running through, checking everything over. I have the whole fuel rail and all the injectors out, checking all the wiring, making sure everything's good to go. Started looking into the throttle body and intake, pulled off the idle air control valve, and it looks like there's supposed to be a seal on here, and I'm guessing obviously there is, because if there wasn't, you'd have a massive air leak, and I think that's the problem we're having. No seal, so I'm gonna run in to Napa, and we are banking on them having a seal for this. All right, we got a seal. It kind of fits, not really. Let's throw it together and see what happens. We have a ton of other stuff to put back on as well. That honestly didn't change anything at all, so I'm gonna start diagnosing some other things. It has to be something in the fuel, either fuel or air related. There's no air leaks that I can find, so it's gotta be something in the fuel system. So I think I finally figured out the issue. Basically, if the car is running and you unplug injector number 2, it doesn't run any different. That means either the injector is bad or the coil pack is bad. And then I pull the coil pack and the spark plug, and the spark plug is completely wet. So that makes me believe that the coil pack itself is bad. I do want to get the car on the ground, get it out of the shop, and at least like clean it up a little bit. My buddy Josh Bader, shout out to Josh if you're watching this, he's been a huge help. He does have a spare coil on plug setup, so I'm gonna go grab that, throw it on the car, and hopefully that fixes the issue. We got the car out of the shop. I know it's not running its best, but we are making progress on the car. It is up and running. We just got to figure out what that lean issue is. I'm 99% sure it is that coil pack. I guess we're not gonna know until probably tomorrow. Tonight or tomorrow, I may go grab that coil pack from my buddy. So kind of sucks we didn't get it perfectly up and running. I was hoping to just get it all the way done, and then the next few days we can do like some body stuff, wheels, coilovers. I know everyone is dying to see the wheels we picked up, and they're gonna look so damn good on this car. I cannot freaking wait to install them. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Stay tuned for the next video to see if the coils are actually the issue. In the meantime, drop any other suggestions you have as to what the issue could be down in the comment section below. Peace out, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.